What is going on, everybody? Nasdorachi coming at you today with a 5-9 gaming video. Now, recently we did put up a poll on social media asking for some of you guys, the fans, to come up with some conceptual ideas for an upcoming Gogeta Blue in Dragon Ball Legends. So what we have done, it was myself, Raiyuden and Goresh, we have each picked one of the submissions, and we're going to go over them with you guys, just talk about them, and kind of give the floor in a way to the fandom. We wanted to kind of do some of these interactive videos to allow y'all to provide some material for us to talk about, and you know, it gives us something to film while it also gives y'all a voice on our platform here. So I will be jumping right in and covering the first one. I believe Raiyuden will be second and Goresh will be closing out the video. As you can see, we've got a nice background representation of Goresh here for y'all. And with that being said, we will go ahead and jump right into our first submission here. So I will be covering the Gogeta Blue designed by Sinister, or Sin1Stir, if you want to be very specific. Thank you for participating in the survey and giving your feedback here. So again, we're talking about a Gogeta Blue unit. I'm assuming that this man created him as a Legends Limited unit, but we'll have to find out here. So again, these are just fan created. This is in no way related to the actual Gogeta Blue unit, but just kind of an interesting way to think of, you know, what people might assume he might come with. So jumping right in, of course, he'll be episode sagas from the movies. There's no way he wouldn't have that tag. He will be God Key Fusion, Fusion Warrior, Saiyan, a melee type, and Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan. Of course, it is Gogeta Blue. All of these tags make perfect sense here. Now, the melee type could be debatable. If we look towards the other transforming Gogeta from the DBS Broly movie that's in the game, they set him up as a ranged blast type. Whether or not they will make this one melee or defense, we don't know that yet. But personally, I honestly would like to see him as a melee type. Some of my favorite units in the game are melee type. He also was specific to include Fusion and Fusion Warrior because that's Legends' way of differentiating the Potara and the Fusion Dance specifically. They don't really exclude Potara from Fusion overall, but they do single out one of the tags for when it's the Fusion Dance, like Gotenks, Gogeta, characters like that. So he will have both of those tags, according to Sinister here. We're moving on towards the stats, so he'll have an overall power of 1.3 million, health of 2.13 million, strike attack 236k, and strike defense 203k. With, blast attack at 220k, and blast defense at 207k. Now, my first initial assessment, okay, these are stats at 6-star, mind you, not fully maxed out at 14-star. But I would say the strike attack might be a little bit low here. He is tagged as a melee unit in this design, and we've seen, you know, Zenkai units like Super Saiyan 2 Zenkai Gohan being upwards of 300,000 on his primary stat. So with this Gogeta Blue being a Legends Limited unit, but not obviously Zenkai yet, I would say his strike attack may be a little higher, but then again, this is 6-star, so if you extrapolate this out to the full 14-star, it might end up being like 280k, which is actually pretty impressive for a Legends Limited non-Zenkai unit. So maybe at 6 stars, these are fairly accurate overall, but you know, I'd love to see him with just a little bit higher strike attack, being that he's tagged as a melee unit here. So moving on down the line, we can check out what 2 cards is the unit holding? Strike, blast, green, blue. This person decided a green card and a strike card. Now the green cards, we've seen characters like Whis that bring incredible value to the teams just based off of having this very unique build of the cards they bring to your deck. Now we also have LF Frieza, who I believe brings a blue card. I could be mistaken about that. Again, I don't actually have him. He's the only LF in the game right now that I don't have. But we have seen LL units bring some pretty unique setups, so this is not outside the realm of possibility. We have Strike with impact damage, of course, and that inflicts the enemy with a tribute downgrade plus 15% to damage received for 5 counts. Now, this is the effect that the special red card that he would bring to battle would have. I might see that as being maybe not quite as influential as it could, but it still helps. That means every time you hit with a red card, you're going to stack this, and with 5 timer counts, you might be able to get up to 3 stacks if you are sidestepping, and up to 5 stacks maybe, or 4 stacks, sorry, if you're just chaining the cards. So that could actually build into something that's actually fairly powerful. And we've seen other characters like Bardock who restore health when they use a red card. Plenty of effects they could add to this. This one might seem a little bit low when you just look at one card, but if it stacks up, then you might be looking at something significant. Maybe boost this time to like 7 counts so that you could make good use of it even if you're sidestepping. That would be pretty overwhelming. But he doesn't specify blast armor. That's another thing that I might like to see on his red cards, just to be competitive with some units that are coming out. But this isn't about what I would do, so let's continue on with this list. Blast, basic impact, nothing out of the ordinary with his yellow card. His blue card will be Transcendent Assault. It's basically, if you're familiar with the movie itself or Dragon Ball FighterZ, where he hits with a kind of a barrage of blasts, and then he finishes that off with the Soul Punisher or the Stardust Breaker as the final hit of that attack, which I think that would be amazing looking on a blue card, especially if they do include those lead-in hits and that rapid fire assault into like the final Soul Punisher. That could be very good to look at. Massive impact damage, destroys 2 of the opponent's cards. He does feature blast armor when charging forward, so he is tagging this as a melee blue card, not a long distance. Like, you wouldn't start with the energy blast from long distance. You'd actually have to charge in and smack to start this one. So the blast armor will help that. And it also inflicts the enemy with a tribute downgrade plus 30% to damage received for 15 timer counts. I'm assuming that's going to be on hit, not when you activate the card. That is something you have to differentiate because there are blue cards that have both. As soon as you activate it, you get the effect, which that could be swapped out of. If they see you activate it and swap to a different character, that buff might be lost there, or the debuff rather. But if it's on hit, then it guarantees that you'll get that on whoever it lands on. So I think that should be definitely an on hit effect there for sure. Special skill, the green card, Missed Me. And remember, with this build, you'll be having quite a few extra of these because the Gogeta's bringing them. You will have a counter will activate upon enemies' blast attack and tap blast, so only against ranged attacks. But it can also activate upon enemies' special move, can only activate twice. That is extremely powerful. We've never seen a counter in the game that can directly counter a blue card. Honestly, that might be a neat mechanic for Gogeta to have here as something new that he brings to the table. But again, we kind of have to specify here. Does this only work on ranged special move attacks? Or will it also work versus like a Gogeta Blue mirror match with the melee style blue cards? Will it counter those? Maybe if it only works against beams like Kamehameha or ranged ones, that would be a good way to have this ability maybe not necessarily too overpowered, like if it'll only work against ranged supers. So that could be very neat if they include that. Once the counter is activated, the following effects occur. Afflict enemy with a tribute downgrade plus 50% to damage received, which would stack very nicely with the red card effect, actually. So that's some good synergy this person's designed into this kit here. And that will also only last for 5 timer counts. Increases arts card draw speed by 1 level for 15 timer counts. And that's 15. That means you could theoretically use 2 of these counters. Like, say they throw a tap shot, you counter it, and then you drop your combo and counter again. You could get up to 100% to damage received and arts card draw speed level 2. So that's something that you realistically could be seeing with, this card here, provided you can get the counters in. It is also comboable with basically everything in the game, the way they've set it up here. So you can basically combo into anything. It's very powerful. Ultimate skill, the ultimate technique, Rousing Finale, legendary finish capable. So this is an LL Gogeta here. Supreme impact damage, the following effects occur to self upon activation, not on hit, plus 50% to ultimate damage inflicted for 3 counts. That'll hit whoever, since it's a self buff. They can't swap out of that. Nullify enemies' restore health when it reaches 0 effect, so it'll cancel endurance. And inflicts all enemies with no switching. So that will prevent them from pulling a Bojack, basically. So it doesn't need to have the Vegito Blue nullify special swap conditions because they'll be locked out. That's pretty powerful, and it also has blast armor. So I think that's pretty good for a ultimate skill right there. You're basically looking at that mainly for the damage output. Okay, so there's a final note here. The normal Ultimate Arts animation is when he rushes Broly from the movie, punches him in the gut, and performs the resonant explosion, that upwards fisted kind of huge explosion. But if the legendary finish activates, they will follow up with being seen as in an exhausted state, unable to move in the rocky area, at which point Gogeta would perform the limit-breaking Kamehameha. So pretty good. That's what I would expect from this Legends Limited, that explosion into a potential Kamehameha finish if it triggers, you winning the battle there. So overall, I feel like that's a pretty dang good combination of abilities and arts cards here. I think that would be very competitive on a fusion-based team or God Key or movies even potentially, with even some of the Zenkai units we've been looking at recently releasing in the games. Pretty well fleshed out kit with probably mainly a focus on damage buffing here, the counter, and the debuffing the enemy's damage received, so they just take more damage. Now remember, in situations where the enemy can swap, those debuffs can be played around, so that does offer some type of counterplay with the way that this kit is structured here. Moving forward, his Z ability at 2 stars would just be 20% to Fusion Warrior based strike attack during battle. For an LL unit, I feel like even at 2 stars, they would include strike attack and maybe blast attack, or strike attack and strike defense. So maybe a little bit short here even for 2 stars, but that remains to be seen. 22% to Fusion Warrior or episode sagas from the movies based strike attack and blast defense during battle at 3 stars. Not too keen on the blast defense here. I think he should be a double attack buffer, but that is completely subjective. I'm sure you'll be able to find good usage out of it either way, but let's see how it continues to evolve. At 6 stars, the full Z ability here would be 28% to Fusion Warrior or episode sagas from the movies based strike attack and blast defense, and 20% to characters that are both of those tags based strike defense as well. So basically a double defense buff for very specific characters. That would work well for like pretty much all the Gogetas in the game. Would not work well for Gotenks, unfortunately, but it would have some weird side buffs too. Like you would even be buffing the Fusion Android 13 with this right here. So maybe could make for some pretty interesting team ups outside of what you'd expect to be meta. Overall, it's pretty good. Personally, again, if I were making the card, I'd want to see a God Key buff in there somewhere myself. But again, this is not what I would do. So continuing with the main ability here, Go. It's a reference to what he says to Whis when he comes in fused. Draw the Ultimate Arts card, Rousing Finale next. Restores on health by 25%, ki by 50. Shorten all allies' substitution count by 5. Cancels enemy attribute upgrades and buff effects. Locks the opponent's Rising Rush for 10 timer counts. That's a very interesting set of mechanics. Overall, I don't think some of them are synonymous with the main ability. Like, especially this shortening all allies substitution count by 5. That is a very powerful ability when you see it on like Champa's abilities and his main, stuff like that. But in this instance specifically, you're getting ki back to continue your combo, and you're getting the Ultimate Arts technique. So ideally, you'll be comboing some and using your Ultimate Arts, in which case you're not really going to want to be swapping. So you might not get the best usage out of the substitution count on this ability specifically. If we're on one of his passives, then maybe it would fit in much better. But that's definitely a very powerful ability in certain situations. So if you were going to use this and do like a trick play, like say you use the main, the enemy swaps into color disadvantage, then you can instantly swap into another character and use them because of this substitution count. That's one area where it might actually be useful. But again, you would sacrifice your Ultimate Arts card doing that. And the locking the opponent's Rising Rush for 10 timer counts, very situationally useful. Say, for example, if you do this late into the battle, then they might have already used their Rising Rush. But if you do it too early, then you're using your ult maybe when it's not a guaranteed finish. So some of the things here seem really good and very unique and useful in certain ways, but I don't think that there's a perfect synergy in this particular design here. However, just off some of these things alone, like the 25% health, the ki by 50, and an ultimate arts, that alone is pretty powerful. So even though not everything synergizes well here perfectly, it's still a pretty overwhelming amount of abilities, so it would still be extremely useful. Is this a transforming unit? No. So we can skip all the transforming stuff there. He did not design him transforming from Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan to Blue. He did not design him to transform from Super Saiyan God to Super Saiyan God Super Saiyan there. That'd be something interesting if they decide to do that. What is his first unique? We Are Gogeta, Kakarot, and Vegeta have merged. Applies the following effects to self when this character enters the battlefield. He gets a ki restoration of 30, very, very powerful. Reduces damage received by 80% for 15 timer counts, which cannot be canceled and can only activate twice. This is dang near right up there with the EX Red Android 13. He has a very useful effect when he does this, but his can only activate once. So the fact that you can get 2 usages out of this means that you could likely throw him in front of Rising Rushes and Ultimate Arts techniques strategically, and he would be able to tank them. -10 to own arts cost for 20 counts. Every time he enters the battlefield, that with the ki is very, very powerful. And the 25% to strike damage inflicted will stack very well with all the other damage passives and debuffs that Sinister has designed into this kit here. Very, very powerful passive. Second unique, Not So Fast. Applies the following effects to self after enemy attack is over. Inflict enemy with a tribute downgrade +5 to arts cost for 5 timer counts. Restores own health by 10%. Reduces enemy ki by 5 every time when hit. Wait. Oh, applies the following effects to yourself after an enemy attack is over. I just got confused there with some of the wording here. So the enemy's cards will cost 5 more every time they finish their combo chain. You get 10% of your health back, so kind of like a little fat boo passive there, and reduces the enemy ki by 5 each time you are hit with a red or yellow card. So not only will the enemy's cost go up for each combo they finish, they will also have their ki reduced by 5. That is extremely deadly. And then you heal also. We're getting to the point now where even this kit is way up there. Like that would definitely help compete with some other colors, because this unit tagged as yellow, which is currently one of the worst colors in the game. So having a kind of an oppressive kit to help back up this inferior yellow color will definitely kind of bring yellow back to the forefront. So very, very, very powerful kit right there. That's all we have. Unfortunately, we don't have too much fan art or anything to go with it. I would like to start including some fan art of up-and-coming characters in the future. But again, we just kind of episode 1, just starting this for the Legends side. I hope y'all appreciated that potential design by Sinister there. And of course, when we do this in the future, feel free to submit what you guys think might be the designs of some up-and-coming characters. Kind of a neat new series we're doing. With that being said, I'm going to bow out, and I will pass the floor over to Raiyuden, who will take over the next card. Thanks for watching. Peace out, everybody.
All right, what's going on, 5-9 Gaming? Raiyuden here. It's my turn to take a look at your submissions for a potential Gogeta Blue that's going to be coming soon. We all know it's going to be a Gogeta Blue at this point, considering the general theme, but let's see what kind of character concepts you guys have come up with. Now, I'm going to use the Troll Blue Gogeta on the left to serve as a reference, because I guess you can sort of say that they're related, so we'll kind of work our way from there and see what we got. I'm going to be looking at the entry by the Grimm Night 75, so thank you for your submission. Thank you for everyone that submitted something. We appreciate you taking your time. Now let's go ahead and start with the color, starting with yellow. I agree with this one. Either yellow or purple, if you ask me. It really depends on the focus of the unit. If we look at Fusion Warriors, yellow could be updated, but same with purple, but it depends on what they're focusing on. If the idea is that they care more about Gogeta being more movie saga driven, then yellow makes sense to me, just because I believe yellow Super Saiyan 2 Gohan is the most recent yellow for that tag, so I could see them replacing that, or purple, because I think I don't know, would be pretty tricky trying to take out Bojack with his cover rescue stuff, but yellow or purple, I agree with. I think those are great colors. I hope he's not actually blue. We could use no more blue Saiyans. His tags, so Saiyan, God Key, makes sense to replace the Super Saiyan here. Sagas from the movies, Fusion, Fusion Warrior, range type. I can see that. 100%, I could see it. Kind of make a counterpoint to Vegeta Blue, who's a strike-oriented unit. Seems fair. His stats at 6 stars, so that's another reason why I got this guy over here, looking at his 6-star stats. Now this one is transforming. He did note that this is not a transforming character, so I'm not sure how that's going to play into general stats, but 2 million HP. This guy has 2.12, so he's a little bit squishier than his transforming counterpart here. Strike attack 226, quite similar to Gogeta here. Blast attack 250, nice. 14k boost over here, I see it. Strike defense 147, okay, a little bit higher than this. Blast defense a little bit higher, or well, rather similar. If you ask me, at 6 stars, I think this is pretty good. It really comes down to kit, because the general base stats that you have are influenced by the kit that you have. If your entire thing is all about you self-buffing, you're not going to have 300,000, strike or blast attack if you gain like 30% damage inflicted for every strike or blast card that you use. So I can see this. This seems realistic. Maybe a little bit higher in the defenses, because he would get flatlined easily by a lot of the current meta teams if this is what he's looking at. What 2 cards is the unit holding? So he's going to apply normal strike, but his blast card is going to apply a debuff. So you're going to be taking some additional blast damage. I can see that. That is a welcome addition. Describe the card arts, what they do. So strike, he has blast armor on his strike. Ooh, I'm gonna be honest, I hope he doesn't. Otherwise, you're gonna have Vegeta Blue, Gogeta Blue. Everybody just has strike armor. Oof, sorry, blast armor. I don't know if I want to deal with more of that. That's gonna be crazy. Mid-range play is just gonna become super strong. His blast attack, every time he does a blast card, 7% to blast damage for 5 timer counts. That seems pretty interesting. I think we have some units that already do something similar, but I think it's beyond 7%. I think it's at 10 or 15, something along those lines. I can see that. His green card is called Absolute Strike, so it charges forward, applies the following effects upon activation: 20% to damage inflicted by all allies, randomly destroy a card and draw a new one, remove enemies' buffs, and it's comboable. I can see that. 100%. I don't think they're going to give him a green card where kind of like, just your traditional buffer where they power up. I can see this 100%. That sounds really cool, really tricky to get, but just like Vegeta Blue, it's all about you got to earn it. You got to time it right. I can see that, especially if it's going to be like comboable like this. I don't want him to have an AoE green card, because otherwise Vegeta Blue, UI Goku, Gogeta Blue, God Key would be a mess. Special move, Stardust Breaker. It's a ranged attack. Massive explode damage, 50% to special move damage, reduce enemy key, 30% chance to faint. This man is out to do some damage. I don't want it to have faint. Maybe that's just me, because you guys know from my videos how much I get hit by faint, but I would prefer it does not have a chance to faint. That would be absolutely crazy, but I do agree with reducing key and the special move damage in case you chain 2 of them together. That's pretty cool. I dig that. And then his ultimate, Meteor Explosion, massive explode damage, applies the following effects upon activation: 75% to damage inflicted. I can see that, because I think a lot of ultimates right now are doing 50%, or that's just Super Saiyan 3 Goku. He's the only one that has that one there. Minus 100% to enemy sustained damage cut, and nullifies endurance. Your typical ultimate move mechanics, I can see that. I actually like this quite a bit. I agree with this. This is pretty darn good. Z ability at 2-star, 26% to Sagas from the movie Blast Defense, 3 stars, 28% to movies and Fusion Warriors, and Z ability at 6 stars, 34% to Sagas, Fusions, and wait, what's that? Fusion Warrior, and 50% to tag Fusion base health. Oh, that's actually really clever. I think though what they're going to be doing is it's going to be movie Saga, Fusion Warrior, and then God Key as the last one. They tend to hide away the most valuable tag at the 6-star mark, so I could see it being that over there, but this is a really strong Z ability. Any 8 max HP buffer is really damn strong, especially when you throw it on something like this. That's why Super Vegito at 14 stars, having a 12% max HP buffer for Fusion Warriors, is easily one of the strongest Z abilities in the game because there's no compromise. You're getting strike, attack, and defense and max HP, but they tucked it away at 14 stars. It's super cheeky of them to do that. So I like that. Second half of the Z ability only for Fusion Dance characters. I like that. Just like EX Gogeta, I believe he does strike, attack, and defense, but you have to be Fusion Dance or Fusion in order to get that second one. So pretty clever. I like that. His main ability with this next one, I'll wipe you off the face of the planet. I like it when people stay true to the quotes of the character. So he draws his ult, restores own ki by 20, so he has the ki in order to use said ult. 40% to damage inflicted, and 100% to ki recovery. That's pretty cool. Restore ally health by 30%. Requirements, 25 timer counts must elapse. Is 25 timer counts the traditional amount? I don't believe so. Oh, wait, no, it is. Yes, it is. 155. Okay, good. I like it. I always call this sort of the holy trinity of a main ability where you want to draw a card, gain ki, and have a buff. And that's what it does here. It gets his ult, restores his ki, does some additional damage, but he also provides a heal. So this is an incredibly strong main ability. You're not really sacrificing anything. Not like Coat Vegeta, who he gets reduced cost and draws a blue card, but he doesn't have the key gain in order to actually use that blue card. So they intentionally step back on that for that character just because of that. So you could tell where they hold back on things and where they give it. So this is cool. He's not a transforming unit, hence why I already had him in a transform state to compare against. So that's pretty cool. What else do we got? His first unique applies the powers of Goku and Vegeta and surpassing the sum. Applies the following effects to self upon entering the field. He gains 20 ki, 50% to damage inflicted, reduced damage by 50% for 20 timer counts, 30% to vanish gauge recovery when facing an opponent of battle type melee. Draw a special arts card, activates twice, knocks back enemy to long range if a cover rescue is performed under blast arts. Ooh, I like that. The only thing is I'm a little bit hesitant to want this just because God Key has so many cover rescue units that I don't really want them to have more. But if the whole idea is for Fusion Warriors, then I can agree with this because I believe they only have 2 right now. So I can see it. I don't see anything with this, but my only fear is with God Key. So I like this 20% to, he gets some key when he shows up, 50% to damage inflicted. You didn't mention if any of these can be canceled. So I'm going to assume maybe 1 or 2 of them you didn't want them to be canceled, but because he'd get nerfed pretty hard. 1 Vegeta Blue green card and he loses a substantial amount of damage, but 30% to vanish gauge, that's pretty cool. I like that. That's a unique passive. And then the second one, the name is Gogeta. 30% to damage inflicted against Super Saiyans. Makes sense. He faced Broly in his Super Saiyan state. I like that. 70% to ki recovery. That's kind of insane. You pair this with the main ability, the dude is just going to be flying through cards. So I'm glad that you did not provide him any sort of card draw speed, because card draw speed with 170% ki recovery basically means he's going to be comboing forever. He's not going to have anything to worry about. He's going to have all that ki, all that comboing, all that, Vegeta Blue craziness all over again. 30% advantage gauge recovery when facing a melee type opponent. Did you want to double up on them? Did you want to put 2? If so, then that's pretty good. That's going to be a tricky opponent to face. Tons of vanish gauge, especially with him being run on with UI Goku. There's so much dodging happening. Plus 100% to blast damage while opponent is using blast armor. I like that. That is a passive that this Gogeta has, I believe. There we go. 100% to blast damage inflicted when enemy's armor is in effect. So that's pretty cool. I like that he stayed true to that. I feel like a unit as popular as Gogeta Blue may have something different though. I think maybe Gogeta Blue could be the first unit where he nullifies blast armor. So you coming through with a strike card when he uses a blast card, it's just gonna break it and you're just gonna take the damage. Don't bank on it too much. I could see that 100%. But overall, as a unit though, I like this. I think it would be great to have some of these passives not be cancelable, because otherwise you're going to be crippled severely, because there are a lot of units that are able to take away a lot of your buffs right now. Min ability from Super Vegito, UI Goku, green card from Vegito Blue, stuff like that. So maybe some of these could have been cancelable. His key recovery is absolutely insane, but good thing you didn't provide any card draw speed, otherwise it'd be way too dangerous to deal with. But overall, I like it because it is a concept that I could see. This is something that I could legitimately see, and considering Gogeta Blue is going to have to be superior to the already dominant LF units that we have, as well as the Zenkai units, this looks like an example of a unit that can do that. I can see this 100% being a thing. So overall, I like this quite a bit. I'll give it a 7 out of 10, just because I think what would be nice is having some uncancelable passives here. But overall, it looks pretty good. I like the additional Vanish concept. He's a dodgy boy. So now I'm going to hand it off to the next concept viewing. Base.
Hey guys, Gorash here, and we're going to go over my selection for the fan-made Gogeta Blue concept here. Now there's 44 entries, had to pick one, so it wasn't an easy decision. One really caught my eye by, oh boy, I don't know if I can pronounce this, Platg's 21, I guess. It's an interesting concept. I didn't really look over the whole thing, I just like sort of skimmed it. It looked sort of interesting to me, so we'll go ahead and cover this. Again, we don't know what he's going to look like at all. This is before the unit is announced or you know, his details are even released yet. So I guess what we can do is we can pull up Vegito Blue. We'll compare him to Vegito Blue just in terms of the stats. Like we'll have him 6 stars and stuff like that. So this is a yellow ranged type, which is interesting because I think yellow is probably the color I would choose for him as well, because there's only one other Legends Limited yellow unit, which is Piccolo, arguably the most worthless one right now. But also yellow is probably what I would consider to be the weakest type in the game just overall as well. So yellow is a color that I would expect to see for Gogeta Blue here. Tags, obviously Saiyan, or sorry, not Saiyan Saga. Sagas from the movies, Saiyan, God Key, Fusion, Fusion Warrior, and Male. Yeah, Male, the best tag. What are the stats at 6 stars? So here's where we compare him to Vegeta Blue, right? Obviously he's a blast-oriented unit, so he'll be more, blast-oriented in terms of the stat spread. So Vegito has 223, 211. This one has 240, 225, so much higher. Okay. Strike defense is 144, and then blast defense is 139. Okay, and then his health is Vegito's 2.15, and this guy's 220. So yeah, he would. So if this guy were released in the game, he would be like literally the highest stats in the game, which is fine, right? It's not unbelievable to expect that out of Gogeta Blue, right? Okay. So what 2 cards is the unit holding? Strike, Blast, Green, Blue. He holds a Blast card, and that Blast card has a buff, 25% to special move damage inflicted for 15 counts. So that's pretty good. That's a lot of damage for a long time. And then he holds a blue card as well. Interesting. Okay, let's see how that synergizes with his kit. Describe the arts cards and what they do. So his strike card, which is just talking about this right here, so like just the normal strike card. Vegito has blast armor on his. His strike card restores ki by 10 on hit, which is actually similar to, let me see if I can pull him up here. Where is he? Similar to the red Super Saiyan Blue Goku. I don't know if I passed him right. He's right here. This guy does that on blast, right? He restores 10 ki upon activation. Same sort of thing for this guy, except it's on strike cards. And then his blast card is just normal. His green card is restores ki by 50, draws a blast arts card next, changes all strike arts to blast arts, and then steals enemies' blast arts. The sealed arts cannot be used for 5 timer counts. Sealing all of one type of card in the enemy's hand is actually very powerful. I don't know if we've seen that from a green card in addition to all these other effects as well. So this would be a crazy, crazy good green card to have, especially because it draws you a specific type of card as well. And then the blue card is Soul Punisher. Deals massive impact damage. 25% to special move damage for each arts card in enemy's hand for 3 timer. That's actually a really cool idea. I never thought of that. That's interesting because actually the way you can use that is you can use the green card, seal up their blast cards so they can't use their blast cards, and then you just use this and they take so much damage because they have cards in their hands that they can't use. That's actually this. I don't know if that was intended, but that's actually really well designed. Okay, yeah, that's a good concept. And then it also destroys 4 enemy cards on art cards on hits, which is cool. Arts cards on hit. Ultimate is Meteor Explosion, so it deals supreme impact damage, which again is this modifier that Vegeta Blue and UI Goku have on their ultimate. The only two units in the game as of now that have that. Applies the following effects to self upon activation. 50% ultimate damage inflicted for 4 timer counts. Okay, that's 4 instead of 3, which is not really that big of a difference. Gain attribute upgrade, minus 100% enemy stand damage cut for 10 counts, which is the same as this, but this one's only 3 counts. Nullifies enemies restore, so nullifies endurance, and has blast armor. So it's pretty much just the same as this. Literally, this. I mean, I expect it to be pretty much the same anyway, so that's realistic. Z ability, I'm just going to read the Z ability at 6 stars. It's 38% to episode sagas from the movies, fusion, or God Key blast attack and defense, which is very, very likely. I mean, we take a look at Vegito's. Now, at 6 stars, it's probably going to be not as high of a buff as 38%. But, you know, it'll probably still be blast attack and defense for 3 tags. You know, these are his 3 main tags, right? God Key, fusion, and sagas in the movies. Vegito has the same exact setup here with fusions, God Key, and future. He's buffing all those strike, attack, and defense, so that makes sense. The main ability. Okay, so here we get into the actual meat and potatoes of what this guy's able to do. Let's finish this. Draws the Ultimate Arts card, Meteor Explosion. Next, restores health by 25% and ki by 50. Recovers 100% of Vanishing Gauge. That's very good. Guaranteed critical hits for 5 counts. I like that. Now, this is like shades of Dokkan in here, but this is actually a pretty cool concept because we don't have any effects in the game right now in Legends that actually guarantee critical hits at all. Now, critical hits are not nearly as good in Legends as they are in Dokkan, so honestly, this wouldn't be super busted. The only reason this would be like really, really damn good, but not busted, is because it would mean that your ultimate is going to guaranteed crit, which is pretty damn good. Like that's a cool concept as well. I like this concept. Oh, okay. He also gets critical damage for 30 counts. Okay, well that's pretty busted. Yeah, that is pretty busted. But I mean, honestly, this isn't that unrealistic. I can see this happening for sure. Not a transforming unit, so he starts out as Gogeta Blue. The first unique ability, a new being, a new god, applies the following effects to self when this character enters the battlefield. 20% of damage inflicted cannot be stacked, cannot be cancelled. 40% of blast damage, so it's sort of split between all damage and blast damage. Reduces damage received by 30% for 15 timer counts, cannot be cancelled. 50% to critical rate and 50% to critical damage. Okay, so yeah, he's going for, you know, a one-man army Super Saiyan Bardock / like hit build for this unit, which is scary because Hit didn't have a team for such a long time. Like Hit released over a year ago, and now on the Rival Universe team is actually really good still. So like this is really, really scary. And then also he nullifies own unfavorable element factors until combo ends when changing cover. Okay, so he's getting 30% cover cut, and then also type nullification, so he's not going to get shredded by Reds, I guess, by Gohan, I guess I should say. But like this by itself is ridiculously powerful. And then the second unique ability is Stop the Rampage. Applies the following effects to self when this character performs a blast arts that interrupts an enemy's action. Example, during strike arts, contact special arts, contact special move arts during tackle. Okay, so if like someone's trying to do something like dash forward or tackle or strike, and you catch them with a blast card, it activates during that. Interesting. That's kind of a specific circumstance, but I guess if this activates, like what happens? Draws 1 random arts card, 40% of blast damage inflicted for 10 timer counts, restores ki by 30, and then 50% own ki recovery for 15 timer counts. Okay, interesting. And then applies the following effects to self when this character performs a blast arts on an enemy's armor. So that's blast armor, right? Or I guess it technically, does that count? Like, does shields count? Like, does that count towards like Zenkai Green Broly shield? Like, I don't know. Probably not, because it would probably just say shield instead of armor. But 40% of blast damage inflicted for 3 timer counts, 40% of damage inflicted for 10 timer counts, and then cancels enemy's attribute upgrade, and then inflicts enemy's attribute downgrade, minus 50% of damage inflicted for 10 timer counts. Okay. And then he has extra damage inflicted against powerful opponent. I actually like that a lot. Knocks back enemy to long range if a cover change is performed against their special move arts attacks that are long beam types. That's interesting because you don't have that in the game yet. Like, there's no character that can perform a special cover change against like a special move, right? There's no units that can do that besides Bojack, I guess technically. Bojack is the only unit that can do that, but this is specifically just for special moves. And then I guess you can combo into his own balloon card, which is the the Soul Punisher, right? Yeah, the Soul Punisher. Honestly, like, this guy looks like he's probably going to be the best unit in the game ever. Like, if this guy were to be an actual unit in this game and he drops exactly like this, like, this is the part that, like, scares me a lot, because this, in combination with the fact that he gets these two things in his main ability as well, like, that's literally just hit on 700 doses of steroids, right? That's what this is. But it's interesting. There's two really interesting things that I like about this kit a lot. The first one is this. I think this is a cool concept, and it interacts very well, like I said earlier, with the sealing the cards with the green card, because you seal the green cards, you're guaranteed to for them to have at least some cards in their hand, unless they have a way of destroying them themselves. And then the second thing I really like about this is this, because this is something we've never seen before. It's an interesting concept, an interesting mechanic they could implement into the game. So overall, I would say this is a very well made, well designed concept by Platt. I'll just call him Platt. Right here. So I appreciate your submission, and this is going to wrap up the Gogeta Blue sort of fan-made character submission concept video here over at 5-9 Gaming. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you liked what we had to see, if you liked what we had to say, if you liked what you saw, make sure to leave us a like, a subscription, and comment down below on which one of these concepts you thought was the best overall. So with that said, again, hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you all in the next one.